$2,510 a week. Boom. That is the massive number jumping right off the page at you on a typical travel nurse contract. And trust me, it is designed to grab your attention instantly. But here's the thing. If you are just looking at that top-line headline number, you are literally flying blind.
Okay, let's dive into this because here is the truly shocking reality. A staggering 68% of that massive weekly number, $1,718 to be exact, is entirely non-taxable. No federal income tax, no state income tax, no Social Security, no Medicare. Nothing. You only pay taxes on the remaining 32%, which is just $792. Now, that unique tax structure is exactly what makes travel nursing so incredibly lucrative, but it's also what makes comparing different contracts super confusing if you don't know exactly what to look for.
So, welcome to this explainer on the true anatomy of a travel nurse pay package. Today, we're going to look right under the hood of these 2026 contracts and equip you with the raw data you need to evaluate absolutely any offer like a total pro. We'll uncover the hidden math that agencies use and flag the dangerous traps you absolutely have to avoid. Section 1. The 4 components of a pay package. Look, to really understand the math here, we have to strip away that flashy weekly gross number layer by layer. Let's break down the 4 core components. Component 1 is your taxable base hourly wage. This is the standard income that actually shows up on your W-2. It is subject to all those standard federal and state taxes we all know and love. For a properly structured 2026 travel contract, this taxable rate typically lands somewhere between $18 and $30+ an hour for registered nurses, totally depending on your specialty and the local market you're in. Component 2 is the housing stipend. This is a non-taxable weekly allowance meant to cover your temporary lodging, and legally it's classified as an expense reimbursement, not income. Now, agencies can't just pull this number out of thin air. It is strictly governed by GSA per diem rates. Depending on the cost of living in your assignment city, this can swing wildly. We're talking anywhere from about $700 a week in a rural town all the way up to $2,500 a week if you're in a high-cost metro area like San Francisco or New York. Component 3 is the meals and incidental stipend, which you'll often hear called M&IE. This is your non-taxable daily allowance for food and basic living expenses. Just like housing, it's governed by GSA rates. For 2026, the IRS uses a high-low method. So that's $86 a day in high-cost locations and $74 a day everywhere else. Finally, component 4 is the travel reimbursement. Basically, this is a one-time payout to cover the actual cost of getting yourself to the assignment location. It's usually calculated using the 2026 IRS mileage rate of 70 cents per mile. So depending on how far you're driving across the country, this usually drops somewhere between $300 and $800 into your pocket for the contract. So the crucial point is this: that massive tax advantage we just built, it only exists if you have a valid tax home. A tax home is a permanent residence where you maintain genuine living expenses while you're working away. If you don't meet the strict IRS requirements for a tax home, every single one of those stipends we just talked about becomes fully taxable. Poof, tax-free status gone. On a typical travel schedule, losing that tax-free status instantly adds roughly $82,000 in taxable income annually. That is an insanely expensive mistake and one you absolutely do not want to make. Section 2, the bill rate reality. All right, now that we've built your side of the paycheck, let's zoom out. We need to look at the macroeconomics of the contract and see what the hospital is actually paying. You see, the pay package you're looking at is only a fraction of what the hospital is actually shelling out for your services. There is an entire hidden layer of agency math here that recruiters generally do not want independent clinicians to see. But once you understand the total hourly amount the facility pays the agency, which is called the bill rate, you hold all the power in your negotiations. Let's move to and see how this builds. Let's break down how this total bill rate gets chopped up. The first major chunk is your share. Typically, 25 to 35% of the total bill rate goes toward your taxable wages, and another 25 to 35% goes to fund your stipends. So that is the portion making it directly into your pocket. But wait, there's more. The agency has mandatory operating costs that they take right off the top before they ever pay you. They have to cover employer payroll taxes, which eat up about 8 to 10%. They pay for workers' comp, health insurance if you use their benefits, and malpractice liability coverage. These are just the standard unavoidable costs of doing business. And then we get to the agency's retained cut. They carve out 8 to 12% for their own corporate overhead, paying their recruiters, office space, their marketing budgets. And finally, after all that, they keep a 5 to 12% net profit margin on your labor. Knowing all those slices of the pie brings us to a really empowering benchmark for you. For a pay package to be considered genuinely competitive and strong, your total compensation, so your wages plus your stipends, should represent 70 to 80% of the total hospital bill rate. If your package is hovering down below 60% of that bill rate, the agency is retaining a massive margin, and you, my friend, are leaving money on the table. Section 3, how to evaluate your contract. Okay, so how do we actually use this in the real world? Let's go through the exact playbook you need to evaluate any travel nursing contract before you sign anything. There are 4 vital steps here. Step 1, request a full written itemization of the base rate, the housing, and the meals. Get it in writing. Step 2, go to gsa.gov, check the limits for your assignment city, and make sure the stipends offered don't exceed federal maximums. Step 3, calculate your true net take-home pay. Do this by subtracting your actual estimated housing costs in that city from the total rather than just drooling over the gross total. And step 4, verify that you have guaranteed hours explicitly written into that contract. Section 4, the 4 red flags. We need to pivot right now to the dangerous traps hidden in these contracts. We're switching gears to our warning colors here because these are the exact issues that cost nurses the most money. Now, what's really interesting here is this concept of wage recharacterization. Red flag number 1. If you see an agency offering an artificially low taxable rate, let's say anything under $15 to $18 an hour for an RN, while heavily inflating your non-taxable stipends to make the weekly total look amazing, run. Seriously, this is a massive IRS audit risk. Plus, your overtime is calculated on that tiny taxable rate, which means you're going to get severely underpaid if you pick up any extra shifts. Red flag number 2, stipends above GSA rates. Like we just talked about, non-taxable stipends absolutely must not exceed the federal GSA per diem limits for your specific location. If an agency offers you a stipend that goes over that local cap, they are literally creating a major personal tax liability for you. And honestly, they're probably just assuming you won't check the math. Red flag number 3, no guaranteed hours. Look, hospitals will occasionally cancel shifts during low patient census. It happens, but if your contract doesn't explicitly guarantee your hours in writing, the facility can cancel your shifts at will, and that means you absorb every single lost dollar. That flashy weekly total you signed up for, it suddenly disappears into thin air. And wrapping up the red flags, number 4, refusal to provide itemization. A legitimate, transparent agency has absolutely nothing to hide about how their package is structured. If an agency or a recruiter pushes back or refuses to give you a full, written breakdown of the hourly wage versus the stipends before you sign, that is your immediate cue to walk away. No exceptions. And this brilliantly illustrates our strategic gem for this explainer. The weekly total number is quite literally the least useful metric in a travel nurse pay package. Think about it. The taxable rate dictates your overtime and your income record for loans. The stipends dictate your tax exposure. The guaranteed hours dictate if the money's actually real. Read the components, not the headline. By the way, the insights in this explainer are all powered by independent, agency-free pay data resources like Travel Healthcare Pay and Locum Pay Guide. These tools are built specifically for clinicians, operating without any agency funding or recruiting incentives, so you get the honest, unvarnished data you need to advocate for yourself out there. So you now have the blueprint to strip down absolutely any pay package and find its true value. I'm going to leave you with this one question. Next time you look at a travel contract, are you just going to read the headline or are you going to analyze the components? Get out there, take control of your data, do the math, and negotiate exactly what you're worth.